Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday, March 31st virtual town hall meeting. This is a first ever event hosted by Goochland County. Tonight, I am pleased to join you. I'm your County Administrator, John Badesky. I have to say, we would much rather be with you this evening at a public gathering and appreciate everybody's understanding and patience while we go through this new format. I think it's also important to recognize that we do recognize there are residents in our community that won't be able to participate in tonight's virtual town hall, either due to lack of computer access, internet access itself, and for other limitations. I want to encourage you, those that are participating tonight, watching this on replay, please recognize this is just one of many ways that our citizens can engage with the county on a daily basis and engage in the budget process. Please know you can call and share any thoughts or concerns you have with county administration on a daily basis. Your board members and district representatives stand ready to also hear your concerns, and we look forward to working on those on your behalf. We recognize this is a very uncertain time for our residents, and I do thank you for your patience and understanding as we continue to work on your behalf in response to COVID-19, the coronavirus. This is a time that, as I said earlier, we would much rather be with you, but knowing that you are home, safe, or wherever you're watching this from is important to us as we follow the CDC guidelines and the guidelines of the Virginia Department of Health in protecting not only our employees, but protecting the residents in our community. I think it's important to share with you, while our buildings are not open to the public at this time to manage the transmission of this disease, we, your staff, are here working diligently on your behalf each and every day. Your Board of Supervisors are engaged and actively involved in hearing and understanding your concerns, and we're working proactively to the best of our ability to be able to address the concerns that we are hearing from our residents. Tonight, we are going to focus not only on the budget and the implications of COVID-19 to the county's budget process. We're going to share with you some updates on some projects that are still of importance to our residents. Dr. Rayleigh is going to be here to share with you some of the impacts to the schools, as well as some of the accomplishments of our school system that we are all proud of as a community. It's important as we move forward, regardless if this is weeks or months of a response, that we do it together as a community. And while we're all encouraging individuals to follow the proper hand washing techniques, the social distancing techniques, not gathering in groups of 10 or more, and following the governor's order to please stay home. This is an issue that we have to take very seriously as a community, as a commonwealth together, to assure the health of not only Goochlanders but Virginians together. And tonight, I hope I can address some of the concerns that you have as residents as it relates to what the county is doing on your behalf on a daily basis today. I do want to share with you that while the county offices are closed, we are still conducting businesses. Building permits are still getting processed, other day-to-day work on behalf of the county. We have gone to teleworking capacities with many of our employees. It's important for us to make sure those employees are gainfully employed and supporting you, our residents, on a daily basis. Your leadership and staff and board are committed to making sure that we are still productive on your behalf each and every day that we commit to Goochland County or into public service. And we will continue to do that throughout this crisis. I want you to know that we are also a part of the Regional All Hazards Incident Management Team. And we have representatives from Goochland Fire and Rescue. Our Sheriff's Department is actively engaged. County Administration is actively engaged. And we meet almost daily to work on this issue to make sure that our responders have the proper protective equipment, that we can meet the demands of our residents and our broader community at large. We're also very sensitive right now that our business community has been impacted tremendously. And while the governor has stopped many non-essential businesses, he still has put guidelines in place for gatherings of 10 or less. And so one of the areas that we know is extremely hard hit is our restaurant community and throughout Goochland. We'd encourage our residents to continue to patronize these restaurants that are struggling really hard to stay open, but are following the governor's guidelines and offering takeout and curbside delivery and other actual deliveries to homes. am extremely proud of the Goochland businesses that have stepped up to try to meet our residents' demand. We'd ask that as you're capable and able, that you support these businesses, and we can continue to try to assure their success, not only in the short term, but once we come through and work through the impacts of COVID-19. There are things in this community that you can still do, and one of the questions that comes up to us is about parks and recreation facilities. Parks are open. We know that this is a time that it's important for people, not only for their physical well-being, but their mental well-being, to get out and actively engage in our community, and we've done our best to keep our parks open. I just ask our residents just to consider, when you're at a park, the rules still apply. We still look for gatherings of 10 or less. We look for the proper social distancing. We're doing our best to sanitize equipment and those kinds of things, but we ask that our residents support us in that initiative so we can keep these parks open for the foreseeable future for our residents. The other area that has received additional demand, while many people are home, they're taking advantage of potential time that they have to do some spring cleaning or additional taking care of some things that are impacting our convenience centers. We are right now doing our very best to sustain our full operations of our convenience centers, but as demand grows, the region's demand is growing. And just ask for your patience and understanding as you engage with our convenience centers. We want to keep them open at as full of capacity as we possibly can for the foreseeable future. Before I move into the budget process, I just want to reiterate for those that may be just joining us, please, we recognize there are certain residents that may not be able to engage in this forum. And as I said earlier, we would much rather be with you and be out in our community, talking with you one-on-one in groups, our typical town hall kinds of sessions. Tonight, because it is a different format, we are going to go through the county administrator's presentation. I will give you my overview. We will stop for questions after my presentation, and we have a unique way for you to do that. Whenever I open up for questions later on in this presentation, for those that have questions that we can answer for you, we will ask that you hit *9. The system you are calling in on will alert us that you have a particular question. We will hear you in this room, and we'll do our best to try to answer those questions. As always, if we don't have an answer for you tonight, we'll do our best to get your information and follow back up with you. I will say we got some great questions prior to this meeting that I'm hoping to address in my presentation, and Dr. Raley in his as well. But we will break for those questions, and I'll remind everybody of the process for questions as we get to that point. Please, again, call county administration, call your board of supervisors. If you have additional concerns after tonight, there are other ways to reach out to us and talk to us and share those concerns. And we will do our very best to try to answer your questions and comments as timely as we possibly can. So let me begin. As most of our residents are aware, usually the spring town halls are when we would gather and talk about the budget that will be going to public hearing next week and then potential adoption in April. We actually start that process back in October. And that budget had a lot of foreseeable opportunities for us to do some really core expansions of public safety services, support public education, provide some expanded services for our residents. Well, just like you and all of our residents, everything has changed in the past 30 days for us as a county. It's important for us to recognize that our residents are challenged right now. We have residents that can't actually go to work. We have residents that their businesses are impacted from this. And those are impacts that we don't take lightly. And we understand we're all parents and friends and family, and understand that these impacts are real to our residents, and they're going to have an impact on how residents have the ability to pay for services and just support yourselves on a daily basis. And so as a government, we have to take all that information in and understand that. And what's the impact to us as we do taxes and all those kinds of other things that governments traditionally do. These are not traditional times. We as your government are going to have to approach things different than we would have in the past. And so as we think about next year's budget, as we typically would this time of year, it is completely different. The budget that we have advertised online is currently being modified completely. And so let me actually pause there, but I want to tell you, we are still in the current fiscal year, which we consider fiscal year 20. That fiscal year will end June 30th of 2020. The remaining quarter, which for us is April, May, and June, just like you at home are going to have impacts to your incomes and your ability to support your services, the county will see those impacts as well. We are actively working right now with all of our departments, our school partners, our agencies, to make reductions in our spending throughout the remainder of this year. We're looking to make cutbacks, recognizing that our residents are making cutbacks, and we anticipate implications for people's ability to pay. We're looking at ways that we can extend due periods. We are looking at ways that we can be sensitive to individuals' issues as it relates to ability to pay for utilities. It's important for us as a community to recognize in the middle of a health crisis, this is not the time to be shutting off public utilities. We will not be doing that. While bills will still go out and bills will still be due for actual services, we believe it's important during this particular time to make sure that individuals have access to public water that are on the public water system, and we will not be turning off those services. We recognize that's only a portion of our residents, but for those that are on the public utility system, that is a commitment to you. On our business side, I'd encourage those that can, we have a substantial amount of information available to small businesses and programs, grants and loans that are available on the county's economic development website. Please take the opportunity to look at that website. If you don't have web access, call us, call our economic development staff. We stand ready to learn from you as our business community about the impacts and things that we may be able to do to assist you. I will tell you a lot of the suggestions we get while the staff are working diligently and we work in partnership with the region, our residents generate a lot of great ideas on how we can respond and serve our community. And so I would ask, this is the time. There are no bad ideas. There are no bad suggestions. And we're evaluating everything we possibly can to make sure we're taking care of our neighbors, our Goochlanders, through this very difficult time. And so our focus right now on the budget is we are focusing on the current year's budget. We will be making those adjustments and cuts. What I need to share with folks, one of the things that we are blessed with in Goochland County is we have historically budgeted very conservatively. And as we budget conservatively, we anticipate, and for the past several years, we've actually been anticipating some level of recession. We certainly didn't anticipate COVID-19, but because of the way we budget, we are very well positioned to weather impacts to revenue reductions, to plan for expenditure reductions, and where we are in the current fiscal year is we are actually in a very sound position. We know we're going to expect a tax collection that's going to be reduced. We know that we're going to have impacts to building permits. Interest income is down for you at home and for us as a county. There's a number of areas that we're looking at, and we are planning for that appropriately. But we're also trying to support our service levels. Right now is not the time that we want to be looking at any public safety reductions. They are putting their lives on the front line for our residents each and every day, and we're providing the support we need to our public safety providers. But there are other services that have diminished, and we are making sure that those employees are also gainfully employed and making sure that they are doing meaningful work on behalf of our residents each and every day. I will tell you that I am very proud that you have a very talented staff here. There are workloads that we have had backed up that we are getting to. There's daily work that's coming in. Building is still occurring in Goochland County, and we're supporting it. Our building officials have actually even gone to 7 days of inspections to meet some of the demands. So the work is still coming in. You'll hear from Dr. Rayleigh later. The schools and its talented workforce is still working diligently on behalf of our students and families, and your county employees are doing the same. You're hearing some things in the region that some organizations are doing large furloughs and reductions. I will tell you, Goochland, another benefit of Goochland County is we operate not only on a conservative budget, but we operate very lean at the department level. And so we have not had a great deal of extra individuals working on behalf of departments. We would either contract out some of those services or just run very lean and wear multiple hats. We've done that for years. That's one thing we've prided ourselves on, and it's actually serving us very well. as we confront reduced budget times and reduced revenues, just as our residents are. And so we also have built up very strong reserves. We have rainy day funds, we have unassigned revenues, we have capital projects that have yet to begin that we can look at deferral, and we will be looking at some of those kinds of things in order to make sure we can sustain the services that our residents need. And we hear from you, and people want to make sure that when 911 is called, we have the proper response and capable, trained, safe providers to come out there and respond to our residents, and we're looking to sustain those levels of service. Keeping our convenience centers open, we've actually seen a surge and increase in demand. We do have some individuals that are not working right now. Parks and Rec, because we're not offering programs, our part-time staff is not working. We're not incurring those expenses. And so we are looking across all levels of the county. And you'll hear some of that with Dr. Raley and some of his comments here. And so we do have a plan. Next week at our public hearing, we will be sharing more broadly with the board, not only what are we going to do for next year's budget, which I'll share with you here momentarily, but what are we going to do to get through the end of this fiscal year and balance that need to provide services to our residents, and also recognize that our residents will have some impact, which will impact our revenues. So let's talk about next year. The budget that we have online right now was based on a budget that we developed from October and that was introduced to the board in February. That budget was predicated on about $4 million worth of growth as we were seeing growth in our personal property, we were seeing growth in our real estate, we were seeing growth in sales tax. That world has changed on us as a county. It has changed on the Commonwealth. We're going to see impacts to the state's revenues. We've seen local revenue impacts, and you as our residents are going to have impacts. And we all have to recognize that these uncertain times will require change. Next year's budget, we have been actively working to make changes in the proposed budget. Next Tuesday, we will be including amendments that will reduce the introduced budget. We'll be making some tough choices, just like our residents are at home. There won't be employee raises in the upcoming budget. We won't be able to add positions, but we are going to prioritize those expenditures that are still critical. The public safety expenditures and equipment that is needed to provide proper response to our residents. We are going to look to sustain, when at all possible, our current levels of services, but we won't be able to do much growth. But our residents aren't either. We're all going to have to look at this and make some very difficult choices. We hope that we will be able to, over some time, realize that we were able to return to some level of whatever that new norm is, and then reevaluate. But I can assure you, we're going to be reevaluating the expenditures. We're going to be freezing positions. We're going to be freezing. There won't be non-essential travel. There won't be. We will be freezing some of the budgets, but we are going to try to support our personnel and services on behalf of our residents to every extent possible. That will lead us into next year's budget. And as we bring some amendments to the board next year, we will be seeing some major changes. The budget will be either flat or a reduction over current year. All of the growth that we anticipated over the next year, we are now budgeting a change, and we will be introducing all of that with the board next week. But we're doing it because we recognize that our residents are also going to be struggling. As you know, when we introduced the budget, and as we have for many years, our tax rate has not changed. I'm going to share with you just quickly a little bit about where we are on our tax rates. Goochland County has historically maintained the lowest tax rate in the Richmond region. We are at a 53-cent per 100 tax rate here in the county. And for instance, some folks heard about Chesterfield County and some furloughs that they are making. Chesterfield's, if you look at this, is about 42 cents higher in their tax rate already. But one of the things that separates us, as I said earlier, we're not as dependent on some of the taxes that are being really hard hit, whether it be admissions taxes, room and lodging taxes, meals taxes. Goochland County doesn't rely on those taxes to support our basic services. Some of the other jurisdictions in the Richmond region are more dependent on that, and it's impacting their ability to provide services and you're hearing some of these things about furloughs. We are not as dependent on that. In fact, even state revenues, Goochland County is not near as dependent as many of our regional counterparts on state revenues. So as the state makes cuts or reductions, Goochland County is not as impacted. But a lot of that has been based on some historical, very lean budgeting, prudent reserve management, and continuing to make sure that we have financial practices that put us in a position to weather these kinds of storms. And while we didn't plan on this as we developed this budget, we also are responsible that we have to react. Just like you at home are going to be reacting to address your financial situations, the county will be doing the same. And we don't for 1 second forget. Over the past 2 weeks, I have spoken with countless citizens, some calling, crying with concerns and frustrations over their employers, and people may not be taking certain actions that they should be, and how are they going to make their next bill or pay their medication. Those calls mean a lot. When we hear our residents sharing those concerns, we hear you. We understand that this is a difficult time for our residents, and those calls and keeping us grounded are important, and us understanding what our residents and our business community is facing. And as we look at programs and ways that we can support, please know we take your concerns very serious. We are going to continue to keep our tax rate flat as we move forward. As we deal with budget impacts and reductions, we will look to live within our means, as you at home are doing so. We recognize that some of our ratepayers that are in the Tuckahoe Creek Service District pay a different tax rate. You pay a TCSD ad valorem tax on top of your property tax rates. And we are sensitive to everyone in our community, regardless of ability to pay. This is a difficult time for every single resident of Goochland County and the Commonwealth. As you may know, we do a 25-year capital improvement plan in Goochland County. That plan right now was projected to make about $630 million of investments over the next 25 years. Just as you at home will be deferring certain improvements, we as a county will have to make some very difficult decisions on deferring certain investments over the next few years in capital. And this plan will be modified as well as the overall operating budget. I do want to share with you that there are, above and beyond this opportunity here tonight, please remember, this is not it. Call my office, call your Board of Supervisors representative, share with them your concerns and needs as a community, and those all get fed in. April 7th, we will have a budget public hearing. Just to be clear, that begins at 6 p.m. The slide says 7. We have changed our public hearing time to 6 p.m. And so at 6 p.m., we will actually begin the budget public hearings. One thing we are doing this year that's going to be a little bit different, because we do not adopt the budget that evening. They're just public hearings to gain feedback from our residents. This is also going to be a call-in format, as we are managing individuals' participation electronically. Please remember, this is not the only opportunity. You can call, share emails, send letters. We are here to take your feedback on this budget process. That budget public hearing is going to be left open until April 13th. So we're going to collect all of the calls, emails, letters, however we receive information, and all of that will become part of the record and shared with your Board of Supervisors as they consider a potential budget for adoption on April 21st. I will share with you, just as you are learning new information on a day-to-day basis from the governor, the federal government, the CDC, the Virginia Department of Health, all of that influences the work that we're doing on a day-to-day basis. As we learn more, we will be tweaking the budget even more, but prioritizing public safety in that process. That's critical for us to make sure that we have first responders responding to your 911 calls and doing it in a safe and professional manner as we continue to weather COVID-19 together. A lot more to come on the budget, and please know, we are really looking to sustain the service level that we currently have, but there will not be much growth in the next year. If we come January, we're in a better position after we take all these measures and life returns to a new normal, we can look at this and maybe make some additional investments, but this is not the time for that. This is the time to react appropriately. and take proper, prudent measures to create a balanced budget that reflects the same challenges our citizens are going through for our residents. And so we will pause after I go through a few more slides to take additional questions. Right now the budget scenario, just as our residents are struggling with, it's an impact for individuals for the county, and we are taking that serious. I do want to address, we had a specific question come in related to the budget, and I believe I've outlined some of the steps that we're taking to address the shortfalls in revenues. Currently, the county is not planning on furloughs or layoffs. While we do have individuals that are not working, that we're on a part-time basis, we have full-time and permanent part-time people that are still gainfully employed, doing active work on your behalf each and every day. That is something that we'll continue to reevaluate, but right now we're committed to supporting our employees to the best of our ability. Right now, the question about expected revenues and continued employment benefits as expenses being met. I think many of our residents are aware of some of the expansion of unemployment benefits, both on the federal level and at the state, and some of the programs that they're doing there. And right now, since we're not furloughing our employees, this is something we're monitoring, and we'll continue to monitor as we continue to have to address this. And so there was also a question about parks and recreation activities. Most of those individuals, with the exception of a smaller number of full-time permanent individuals that are working in many other capacities other than just Parks and Rec right now, are part-time individuals. Those individuals are not currently on Goochland's payroll because they're not providing a direct service. Another question we have specific related to the budget is about the county's stellar credit rating, and it is something that we are proud to have 2 AAAs, the smallest county in the nation, to do that. The question is, has the credit rating agencies instructed Goochland County on next steps to assure that these are maintained? What I can share with you is we monitor all of the policies around credit ratings and good financial practices on a daily basis. Every decision we make on utilizing fund balance and all of those will be done consistent with budget policies and sound practices. We're proud of our credit ratings and look to maintain that. We do work with a financial advisor that is also in touch with our credit rating agencies and are only at this time doing practices that are consistent with those best practices. And the last question was about the 2021 budget, and I had shared that we are taking active measures and plans that will address the 2021 budget. I'll take additional questions on the budget as we come up. I do want to share a little bit of good news with you. We're facing some real challenges, but there's been some projects that we're really proud of that we have completed. If you're not aware, we've opened an agricultural center at Central High Complex. Also there is a new blacksmith shop, and over time we plan to open an artisan center there at Central High and allow people to come in and really appreciate handmade goods and those kinds of things by Goochland residents. And we'll be talking more about those opportunities in future. We just literally opened the doors on the new Goochland County Business Center, which is right downtown across from the courthouse complex. That complex houses the Goochland Chamber Conference and Economic Development and different activities that we have there. We've opened a new courthouse security building. All of these projects have been completed. There are a number of projects that are in the works and actually a little bit even further along. We're working with the Historical Society across the street and right next to the courthouse complex. We're opening the Goochland County Historical Center and a Welcome Center concept. That project is almost complete in its renovation. Behind this building, where the extension offices used to be next to our Parks and Rec offices, we are actually coming on the final end of a registrar renovation. The registrar will move into that facility here over the summer. And a project we're really excited about is a partnership with Goochland Pet Lovers. The Goochland County Animal Shelter and Adoption Center is coming to completion. That's been a long time in the making, and we anticipate a June opening of that facility. On the public side, There are a number of commercial projects still going on. Sheltering Arms is still working very hard to get their facility open in June. Obviously, pending COVID-19 and the impacts, I'm sure they're evaluating that. But we have a number of other projects, construction projects, that are still active. Resort Lifestyle Communities, if you're coming in Route 6 from Henrico County on your right, or if you're going out to Henrico on your left, Resort Lifestyle Communities. And this is an active adult living community. Avery Point is actually up in the Notch, which is across from the Audi dealership on Broad Street. Is a continuous care adult community, and it takes active adults all the way up to adults needing medical level care. That project is under construction. Residence Inn right there along Broad Street in the Notch across from Audi is close to completion. Road maintenance. I'm going to share a number of projects with you here this evening about road maintenance. You may be aware that the Virginia Department of Transportation is the primary entity responsible for road maintenance in Goochland County. But there are a number of projects. Actually, this week, the intersection of 288 and Broad Street on both sides of the interchange, those projects have begun and are projected to be complete by Thanksgiving. And many of you in our community know that these are some of our most challenged intersections, and that project's now underway. Pleased to see that one get underway. The roundabout at 522 in Sandy Hook, that project is still moving forward. It's fully funded at the state level. That'll take about 2 years to get all the work, engineering work, right-of-way work done, and construction moving. We're working and applying for funds for a number of other projects. The interstate interchange at I-64 and Ashland Road, there has been a divergent diamond project identified through study by the Virginia Department of Transportation. We're applying for funds to make an improvement at that interchange. Also, there are additional improvements along 288. I think everyone knows that 288 causes a lot of intersection problems throughout eastern Goochland, and we have some projects identified that could help make improvements to Interstate 288. The Oilville interchange at 64, there is one project currently identified for a northern roundabout to keep that traffic moving. I think many of our residents know that that backs up in the evenings in particular, but that both sides of that interchange have planned future improvements. There's a road project to align Hockett Road with Ashland Road there by the Wells Fargo. That's several years out for that project. There's applications in for Three Chop Road extension, which would actually extend from really where Drive Shack is. This is actually a tunneling project to Three Chop Road on the other side of 288 that was actually cut off when 288 was built. There's a project that will actually improve turn lanes onto River Road from Patterson. In this slide deck that's going to be available on the website and that we're referring to now, depending on which district you live in, we also have listed a number of road projects that are planned in the next year by the Virginia Department of Transportation. And so we've listed them by district, first 1, second, districts 2 and 3, and finally districts 4 and 5. Next, I'm going to pause and talk a little bit about broadband because we recognize even tonight's event was impacted by individuals that could not participate in tonight's live town hall here via Zoom because they didn't have internet access. And this is an issue that we continue to take serious. And I think we'd be blind if we didn't recognize this crisis has even elevated the demand for internet services from our residents to an entirely different level. And as many doctors and other entities change their means of communication, businesses and working from home, this not only now but in the foreseeable future is going to continue to be a demand and need for our residents. There are a number of things that we do have in the pipeline that are being worked on. While we have launched our 10 Steps initiative, and this is a number of initiatives that progressively help us address the internet challenges that we face as a community, one of the things that we did release out on February 6th, which we are already seeing some individuals during this time take advantage of, all of our fire and rescue stations, county administration, all have hotspots available, and we are seeing those being utilized. We never anticipated that that was the real solution to our internet problem, but it is an interim step and something that individuals can use. now and ongoing. Also at different buildings and library complexes, there's hotspots. We did recently announce some great news from Virginia Electric Cooperative and an expansion of a grant of $28 million that's going to benefit primarily Western Goochland over the next several years. And they're going to see, this is fiber to fiber service. This is not wireless. And there's more expansion with CVEC to serve a substantial part of Goochland that they're looking to do outside of just their network of customers. We continue to need your feedback, and we will be working with you as we move forward with studies and looking to address this more broadly from our county. I can tell you that we continue, even while the county's doors aren't open, we are actively working with internet providers to expand services to our residents. And obviously, especially now, it can't come soon enough. There are residents that are home. One of the questions that we received is not only what is the county doing, and we're taking a number of steps to work with providers to get expansion into Goochland County in a number of areas. There are residents that are struggling right now because their doctors have shut their offices and are telling folks that they will do telemedicine or over the internet telemedicine, or not only internet, but there are folks that have poor cellular coverage. We continue to try to promote the cellular companies to do tower expansions to increase even just basic cellular coverage, not just the internet as well. But we're also looking to get those companies to expand internet. You know, one of the questions, what suggestions do you have for people in this situation who can't teleconference with a doctor and because they're at high risk because of coronavirus or other medical complications for that matter? And while we do have hotspots at the fire stations, we know that's not practical for every one of our residents. And so this is a time where we as a community also have to help our neighbors when at all possible while using those safe practices. And while we can't get internet to you soon enough, and we will continue to prioritize that, we ask neighbors to work with each other. Do your best to support one another, especially in this difficult time. And we as a county look forward to working with you to actually solve the root problem of internet over the longer run. But one of the things that we have shared on our website also is that social services and Goochland Cares is putting out information. They are also a resource for our seniors. So if there are challenges, please don't hesitate to contact by phone Goochland Social Services, Goochland Cares, and reach out to those entities as well so they can also be a resource for our residents. And so we reckon that there is not a quick fix for the Wi-Fi problem. We are working with grant sources and private providers and those kinds of things to get expansion, but it is going to be a service that will take multiple years to expand even once we get commitments. And so I don't want to overpromise. I hope over time we can over-deliver, but I don't have an immediate solution for some of the gaps today, but I can assure you that we're still committed to working to solve the broadband internet challenges our residents are having. And if this crisis hasn't exacerbated that issue, nothing would. And so please know we are hearing from our residents about this challenge and are continued to commit to this issue. One of the things that while we're all dealing with a crisis, they have not stopped the work on the census. In fact, tomorrow is Census Day throughout the nation. For those of you that have not had a chance to participate, you would have maybe received 1 or 2 notices in the mail. We encourage you to participate. It's important to be part of that, be counted. Those numbers impact us as a jurisdiction to receive funding. It impacts making sure that all voices in our community are heard, and those demographics serve us for 10-year periods of time. So this is your opportunity as a member of our community to participate and be counted and included in those kinds of things. And there's more information on the census on our website. Code Red. Code Red is a system that you can sign up for, and you can receive either text messages, emails, phone calls. Encourage our residents to sign up on this. This is on our website. If you know someone that doesn't have internet service, please reach out a hand and help sign them up for this. As we have emergency alerts and notices, not only during COVID-19, but hurricane season and tornado season, this is a service that we use to get out information to our residents, and we encourage Those that can, please help support our residents. If residents have a challenge, our Commissioner of Revenue has offered services that they will help sign people up for this service, and other departments as well. As I wrap up, and it seems, with everything else going on in our lives right now, that seems like it's not as important. Goochland is a beautiful county. It's beautiful for many reasons, primarily our people. Secondarily, are really the beautiful environment that our residents get to live in, play in, and work in. But we have seen some challenges here, and we ask people to be good neighbors. We are putting out some cleaning opportunities, neighborhood cleanup days. I will say that we may have to revisit when we do these, but these are activities that we can support our residents in doing some of these cleanups. We want to make sure people are out there doing them on safe roads with proper notice and equipment and those kinds of things to give passerbyers a notice that people are on those roads, but continuing to keep Goochland clean and something that we're all proud of. As I started this off, this is not ideal. We would much rather be with you tonight than talking to you over the camera. This video, please, for those that have access, remind them that they can go back and re-review some of the information that we're sharing tonight. But you can still, the numbers on the screen, call us. Call your Board of Supervisors members. They want to hear from you. They care about our citizens and want to do the very best that we possibly can. These slides that I'm referring to here tonight will be available on our website. You can get those tomorrow. And the last one, I wanted to answer one additional question that came in on the county's website just before this meeting started. And I'm going to answer this in two ways. We had a question about that the Goochland Drive-In has received permission from the governor's office to remain open with modifications. Let me just tell you, right now you've heard that the governor has deemed certain businesses essential or non-essential, or has granted waivers, if you will, to some of those criteria to allow certain businesses to operate. Goochland County is not making individual decisions about which businesses to open, shut down, enforce. The governor's office is making those calls. The health department's monitoring some of those kinds of individual decisions. I will tell you, Goochland Drive-In has been a great corporate citizen for Goochland County, and quite honestly, an amazing family opportunity for many Goochland residents and those in the region. The question that we've received is a serious one, because individuals are concerned right now about any gatherings. We're concerned about those gatherings in our park, and the question that we received is that potentially Goochland Drive-Ins received that permission from the governor's office to open with modifications. That is something that has been determined by the Commonwealth and not directly by Goochland County. We are recommending to everyone to follow the guidelines of the CDC, the 10 or less, the social distancing, the hand washing, and limit. Our guidance to everybody is please stay home. But if they were granted to open under certain conditions and permissions, that is something that the Commonwealth of Virginia has determined, not Goochland County. We all look forward to the day where we can take our families and get to the drive-in and enjoy a gooch dog, and on whatever screen you prefer while you're out there. It's an amazing opportunity. I know that the operators of that venue will do their very best if they were granted this permission, but it's not something that Goochland County directly monitors or gives those permissions. And so I wanted to follow up. Hopefully I've addressed the questions that had come in prior to tonight's the town hall here that we're doing over the camera. But at this time, I will pause before Dr. Raley gives you a presentation and answer any additional questions that I may not have fully answered, or additional questions our residents have. And so let me just remind you on how you can do that. If you hit *9 on your side, we will be notified based on the system we have that we have individuals that have questions. You will have the opportunity, you will receive an alert on your side letting you know that your phone has been taken off of mute. And then you will be able to ask us that question. And we'll do our very best to try to answer that as honestly and capably as we can here tonight. And as I said earlier, if we can't answer it as thoroughly as we would prefer, or you would prefer, we will follow up with you to the best of our ability as soon as tomorrow. And so I will pause right now, and we will open up to questions. Again, it's *9, and that will alert us if you have questions. Anything you're seeing, Ren?
I see no one with their hand up right now.
Okay. Any questions? We'll give it another minute here to take questions. I will tell you, Dr. Raley will give his presentation, and then both of us, at the end of Dr. Raley's presentation, will come back and take final questions for the evening. We did receive one question. Caller? Caller, you may go ahead.
Yes, this is Linda Moore. I would like to thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. This is Linda Moore. I would like to thank you for allowing us to speak tonight.
Yes, Ms. Moore. Thank you for joining us this evening.
My question is, when will we hear more from the governor on whether or not he's going to make it June 10th, or
Yeah, Ms. Moore, one thing that would help us is if you can just turn the volume down a hair on your side on your live stream, your question will come through a little bit more clearly. Volume down a hair on your side on your live stream.
Okay, I'm on my phone. Okay, all right.
Okay. Thanks for bearing with us. Go ahead and continue to ask your question, Ms. Moore.
Okay. With the governor changing things almost daily, will the June 10th be?
Go ahead, Ms. Moore. You can continue.
June 10th, is that as the new date, or we don't know?
Ms. Moore, I think that's a great question. One of the things we as a locality have been challenged with, as you know, those dates have continued to change. In the orders that the governor has released over the past 2 weeks, he has been consistent in June 10th being the current expiration date of some of those orders. To the best of our ability right now, that is the date that we know of that has been produced by the governor's office. We as a locality don't have a role in those particular orders. I know in other calls and conversations we're having with health officials, I think we would all love to give our residents a little bit more certainty as to when things will start to return to normal. But I think right now we're June 10th. I think hopefully they're erring on the side of caution. But as we know better dates or have better information, we will be glad to share it with you. But as of right now, we can only go by what the governor has produced of that June 10th date.
No other questions.
Okay. Any other questions right now? All right, I thank you for your patience with the technology and understanding. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Raley, and then we will come back. I will join Dr. Raley at the end for some additional questions for both either the county or the school system.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Badesky. I appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes with our community today, and Mr. Buzzard's going to transition from the county's. All right, well, welcome back. Thank you for the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you this evening. I appreciate the chance to share some of the work that we're doing as a school division during this challenging time and hit some of the highlights, and I know the questions that are on your mind. So we're going to see if we can transition to the school division slides here shortly. But as Mr. Buzzard is doing that, again, I want to thank Mr. Badesky for his leadership and what he's done for our community over the course of his past 4 years with us, and specifically the time that he's leading us right now during these challenging times. It's been a real pleasure to have the opportunity to serve with him. As Mr. Badesky referenced in his budget conversation, our school division certainly is in a pause point right now as we're looking at the revenues that we may receive from the county and the revenues that we may receive from the state. Ultimately, the budget that was approved by the school board back in February focused on what matters most, and that's our students whom we serve and the staff who provide such an exceptional service to our students and to our families. Although we'll be faced with making some very difficult choices here in the near future, that's going to remain a focus for our school division. We certainly understand why we do what we do, and that's the young men and women who walk through our doors day in and day out, and the teachers and custodians and all of our talented staff that provide an exceptional service to our community. And so that's going to remain a focus for us. Some important dates for us as a school division are, number one, April 7th, when Mr. Badesky and the supervisors will be deliberating about some changes that they are considering. And then ultimately on April 21st, when those final decisions are made, we rely heavily on the local transfer from the county to the tune of over 70%. So they are certainly going to be important decisions for us that we are monitoring closely. And then the state is expected to reconvene for the veto session at the end of April, I think around April 22nd or so. So around late April, we will know what our expected revenues are from the county and the state, and that's going to allow us to make decisions in late April and during the month of May to ultimately decide what our budget will be starting on July 1st of next year. So please stay tuned for the work that we're doing as a school division and the county is doing as well through the public meetings that are going to take place in the next several weeks. I will say to our families, to our students, to our staff, we miss you. We miss you a whole lot. And these past couple weeks certainly have been challenging on all of us. But please know that we're thinking about you, that we miss you, and cannot wait to see you back in our schools again. We're certainly faced with some difficult challenges right now, but the optimism of our team and the great things that are happening behind the scenes for your school division are just so remarkable. The decisions that we are faced in the coming weeks regarding our budget and our anticipated academic program are certainly going to be rooted in what is most important to us as a school division. And so now more than ever, the foundational principles of what we do as a school division are extremely critical, and our vision to inspire the next generation to make a positive impact, our mission to maximize the potential of every one of the learners whom we serve is certainly at the core of what we're doing. And then we're driven continually by our core values. There are countless examples of excellence where we have had amazing things happen with our teachers and their families as they're supporting them during this time. We definitely must be creative right now as we're working through some of these challenges together, and the courage to make some very difficult decisions in the best interest of our students. All of our work always done with honor, and we must be optimistic right now and think positively about what the future holds for us. Keep our heads high and make sure that we are looking at our work through a lens of optimism. Our core goals are a part of our current budget plan and will continue to be until we develop our next strategic plan. And then ultimately, every decision that we make is going to be in the best interest of the students whom we serve day in and day out. That's what we do, that is what we're about, and certainly they are going to be at the forefront of any decisions that are made now and well into the future. We look forward to these days again. We look forward to having the opportunity to have our students back and being a part of our daily work. We do miss you greatly and look forward to having you walk through the doors of our school division again. So these pictures remind us of the awesomeness of our school division and the great things that are happening that used to happen day in and day out, and I know will happen again in the future when we have the opportunity to return to normal operations. So this is just a reminder of what we do and the great things that are happening in our school division. And although we're in a pause right now, the buildings are closed, but education continues, and so education just looks a little bit differently into the future as we transition into the next couple weeks. I know that there are a lot of questions on the minds of our families right now, and so as we closed on March 13th, our focus at that point in time was the continuity of learning and what could we do to make sure that students left on March 13th with something to do during the 2-week interim. We're in the process now of transitioning from a continuity of learning to transitioning to new learning. And so the Commonwealth of Virginia has allowed us to look at 4 different options to meet the needs of our students going forward. And these 4 options are presented for you on the screen. You can see that we have the ability to use one of these options, all of these options, or a combination of any of these options to meet the needs of our students in the future. At this point in time, we're choosing to provide instruction during the extended closure, and we're talking about new instruction to our students. The work that we're doing right now to create an instructional plan focuses heavily on equity, It focuses on recognizing that we have students with limited resources at home. We have students with no internet. We have students that are worried about a variety of factors in their home. It's built upon a philosophical standpoint that our families, too, have anxieties and stresses on them, that families are working at home, and sometimes it's really, really difficult to sit down at a kitchen table and help a child with their homework. So we recognize that, we honor that, and as we're planning, we're looking at that lens so that we can do a little bit of learning in the next several weeks and move our school division forward, while at the same time not placing an undue burden and an undue stress on our families. One thing that we may need to think about in the future is how we recapture this time that we've lost over the course of the past couple weeks and we will lose in the future. And so as we go forward, we might need to be creative with the work that we're going to do as a school division to look at our instructional calendars, look at a variety of creative strategies so that ultimately we can meet the needs of all of our students going forward. So our staff are preparing lessons right now based on content that students have missed or will miss from March 13th through the end of plans instruction. We're looking at these plans with equity in mind and recognizing that we do have students with very limited internet access and some have no internet access. And I want to assure our students and our families that you will not need internet access to complete the learning activities that are required. We do have students in Blue Ridge. We do have students who are a part of our ACA program, and there may be some exceptions for those students, and we're going to work to support those students with internet access, but every other student should not need internet access because ultimately we want to make sure that we're maximizing the potential of every student and providing equity in our work going forward. Our goal is to be able to distribute the next round of our learning opportunities to students on Monday, April 13th, and we're hoping to distribute those opportunities a variety of ways. First of all, digitally. If you do have internet access and you do not need access to paper or any other sort of platform, we're going to be able to share these learning opportunities to you digitally through web-based platforms like Schoology or Google. We are also prepared to provide hard copies to our families, and as we keep our distance and reduce the interactions that we have, we're going to plan on doing that through curbside pickup. We also can make alternative arrangements to our families who cannot access the materials digitally or through a curbside pickup. Please let your principal know, and we will work with you to make individual arrangements so that you have access to these learning opportunities. I think it's important to know now that our families, you should not be expected to do any new learning with your students between now and April 13th. We're coming to the close of that initial 2-3 week period. We're coming up on what would have been our spring break, so we certainly need a break and an opportunity to catch our breath a little bit, so please do not expect students to complete any new work between now and April 13th. That opportunity will come. You can expect also, parents, that when you get the assignments from your teacher, that each teacher will provide an outline of what is required of our students during the course of the next few weeks, and you'll have an opportunity for optional supplementary resources that you may complete if you want to. Some have asked us about grading and how is the work going to be graded. Please know that the work between now and the end of the year will not be graded. We're going to assess that work on a pass-fail basis going forward. And I think this is key as you are faced with some of the challenges in your own homes. We know that parents and guardians are not the teachers. You teach in a variety of different ways, but it is not our expectation that you are delivering this new instruction to your children. We are the teachers, and we recognize the wide variety of challenges that we all face at home. And so this is something that we are certainly going to take off and do on behalf of our school division. So please, parents, do not let this be a stress for you or your families. We do not want that to add. And please give yourself permission. If this becomes a stress for you, if it becomes a stress for your child, it's okay to press pause, take a step away, email your teacher and say, I need a break. Can you help me with this? We're going to have designated office hours for our families, and you can always have the opportunity to check in with your teacher during those designated opportunities. It's okay to step away, and we're going to work with you individually to fill the gaps in the future if you need be. So some questions that we've received, and I guess graduation definitely is on the minds of many of our families right now. I will tell you that we had a conversation today with John Paul Jones Arena about what graduation may look like. Our initial graduation date was on May 31st, but since the closure is through June 10th at this point in time, we had to work quickly to look at alternative arrangements. We're looking at a date in mid-June at JPJ and an alternative date in mid-July. And hopefully we can use John Paul Jones Arena as we originally scheduled, but we also know that we need to be flexible and may need to make alternative arrangements as time goes forward. Please note that if you are a graduating senior and you are anticipated to graduate, that you will graduate. Please take that stress off yourself and know that we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we celebrate this accomplishment for our graduates and their families. You have definitely earned this moment in the sun, and we're going to do everything that we can to make this a special occasion for you. SOL tests have been canceled. We've received a waiver from the federal government, and Dr. Lane, our state superintendent, is working with the General Assembly to take the final step here, but fully expect that SOL tests will not be an issue for us this year, so you can take that stress off your mind and know that that is not one thing that you have to worry about at this point in time. One of the questions I get as I call families is, what about my child's homework? They've been working for the last couple of weeks. What do I do with all this stuff that was sent home to me? And please know that we're not expecting you to turn that in at this time. If you have paper copies, you certainly can put that in the pile in the corner of the room, but we're not anticipating that we're going to collect those at this time. If you want to, you can take a picture and send it to your child's teacher, but we have no plans to collect those right now, because certainly we need to make sure that we're maximizing our distance and not having a whole bunch of people on school property at this point in time. So just hold on to that for now. We'll get to that later. I do want to spread far and wide and celebrate the work of our food service team. They truly are on the front lines of providing free meals to our community, and they're feeding Goochland. And so for that, I'm extremely thankful for what they have done to get up and go to work every day and to provide those meals to our community. Please know that these meals are free. They are free, and they are free to any child. You do not have to be a child on free or reduced lunch status to get these free meals. Any child can get these free meals. There are hot meals, there are cold meals, there's breakfast, there's lunch, there's a snack. You have some choice there. And so we're serving at the secondary complex, Byrd and Randolph from 9 to 12, and also the Sunshine Food Bus. And a new addition also, because some of our families were hesitant to take their children out of their homes and the safety of their homes, which is certainly understandable, students do not need to be present to access these meals. As long as an adult can provide us with the name of the child, certainly they can pick up the meal on behalf of their child. So a lot of flexibility there. Please take advantage of that opportunity. I'm going to move quickly through our strategic plan. We are in the process of certainly working through the challenges of today, but we also need to move our organization forward, and so we're working on getting our strategic plan out and ready for the public and finalizing that for a July 1st implementation. We're going to call this Engage 2026, and we've developed 3 broad goal areas, objectives under each goal area with specific strategies that we are going to implement in order to meet those objectives. The first goal for us is to maximize each student's potential and preparation for a successful life. 2 objectives there, the first one being that all students will experience high levels of growth, engagement, and personalization. And the second objective under that goal is that all students will graduate prepared for their future life goals. So a variety of strategies underneath those goal and objective areas, and we'll be sharing this for information with the board in May and ultimately their approval in June. Our second goal area is looking at what we can do to engage our community through a variety of platforms and making sure that the experience that everyone has with our organization is positive, where they feel informed, included, valued, and empowered. And so we look at engaging our community and looking at public relations and making sure that our decisions are made with the lens of equity, diversity, and inclusion in mind. And then also looking at a student-centered culture of care, as well as policies that provide options for wellness for our students and for our staff, and then maintaining regional partnerships, as well as leading with courage, vision, and empathy, and making sure that we improve our operational and our instructional practices as well. Ultimately, it's one of our goals, and we're explicit about employing a diverse, dynamic, and expert workforce, and doing that through grow our own programs and looking at innovative attraction and retention strategies and practices. Our last goal area is enhancing and supporting the instructional and learning needs of all of our students and staff. And so as we look forward to the future, we certainly want to make sure that all of our environments are inviting, inclusive, equitable, and sustainable, and looking at environmental quality standards, flexible learning spaces, and the opportunities that we have inside those buildings. keeping our focus on safety and making sure that that is a part of what we do in the future, and enhancing the great work that we've already done in looking at the needs of our staff and our students and providing digital security training and digital citizenship for those students as well. As we know, internet is continuing to be an issue in our community, and so we want to support the county's initiatives and advocate for access to high-speed internet in every aspect that we can to support our students, our families, and our residents. And ultimately, maintaining our strong relationship that we have with the county and making sure that we're allocating our resources based on transparency, equity, efficiency, and compliance. So a variety of things in this roadmap, and looking forward to sharing this in a different environment with our school board and ultimately our community as we go forward to a July 1st implementation date. So I thank you for the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you this evening. I want you to know that I am always available for any questions that you have. My phone number is on this slide. My email address is on this slide. I check my messages often. They are sent directly to my email, and so as soon as they pop up, I get them. The best way to stay in touch with us is our website, as well as our Twitter feed and our Facebook page. That's where we're sharing all of our information during the next couple weeks and in the future. So please stay in touch with us. We want to hear from you, and let us know if there's anything on your mind that we can do to support you going through the next couple weeks. So at this time, I think Mr. Badesky is going to join me. Looks like we have maybe 2 questions, so I'll pause there for a second. Well, since we're experiencing some technical challenges, my phone number is on the slide, and I'll give it to you in case you want to write it down, and I'll also give you the county phone number as well. So my phone number is 804-556-5601. You can certainly reach me there and leave a message if we're not able to answer. And the county's phone number is 556-5800. So we're always available beyond this time tonight to answer any questions that you may have. Via email, via telephone. We certainly want to know what's on your mind and answer your questions, so feel free to call us outside of the setting since we may be having some challenges tonight.
Caller, can you hear us? Go ahead.
I don't know if I'm the caller you're talking to or not.
Yes,
are,
yes,
Mr.
please.
Lyle. Thank you.
Mr. Badesky, if you move a little closer to Dr. Ray, you'll be in the picture. Right now, we only get the logo on your shirt. Just sharing that.
Thank you. We're just practicing our safe distances here, so we'll get on camera.
Okay. Well, it's been said that half of Mr. Badesky's worth a full somebody else, so we're good there.
You're too kind.
This is Jonathan Lau, 1521 Mannequin Road. When I was working for the Army News Service, my commanding officer said I had a face made for radio and a voice made for newspaper. So I guess we'll figure out if that's true or not. I'm really just participating to see if the technology is working. Good on you guys, and not to be anything other than complimentary for the effort you're making, but this does have some vestiges of the old Soviet Union where Mr. Brezhnev would sit and dock for 3 or 4 hours with nothing going on. I don't know if you can animate or do something there, but it has vestiges of the Politburo. But that aside, thank you guys for what you're doing. You know, I guess you thought you could run, but you can't hide. I'm going to find you wherever you guys are. So keep up the good work, and I'll save my longer discussion questions for another time, because those other 17 people are looking to see the red light blink. 3 minutes are up.
Mr. Lau, please know we miss your face regardless of what others may have said, and so
I understand completely.
we appreciate everything you do and taking your time tonight. Thank you. Other callers? We'll just take a final minute here, and if any other questions come in, remember *9. I just want thank you for taking your time tonight. For those watching this in replay, thank you for taking your time to learn a little bit more about your county, engage in your county, share with us your thoughts. I personally want to thank Dr. Raley and his team. You know, this is a challenge that takes a village kind of thing, and we're working well together. I'm really proud of the collective team with our county sheriff, our fire and rescue chief, all of our public safety providers. I think we've all gained a true new appreciation for individuals at every level of every organization. So next time you're at the grocery store, thank those folks. Next time you're at a restaurant, thank those folks. You see a public safety officer, thank those folks. Healthcare professionals. This is really, you know, their efforts are being exemplified right now, and we're very proud of them, and really appreciative of many of them are out there serving for us at their own potential risk. And so just thank everybody for taking the time. You know, the simple words, be kind, are going to be something we all have to keep in mind as we work through this. We recognize you as our residents are going to be stressed and challenged. We are going to do our best as your local government to support you, and just thank you. And so please remember, Dr. Raley shared our numbers. They're in our presentations. We're here for you. Thank you for taking your time this evening.
Thank you. Have a great night.